One is usage-based pricing. Boon or a bane, curse or a benefit type of thing, right? If you can figure out a way to do it as a company, it's one of the biggest game changers that you can unlock. Like, my next thing will for sure be usage-based. I want as low of a barrier to entry as possible. And I think that's what people don't realize about it is that it's an immense opportunity to expand your TAM. So that's step one. The other thing that I'm seeing, particularly around AI, is that everybody is interested in it, but no one knows how to do it yet at scale, really, right? The enablement around it is the most challenging part. Which tool do I buy? How do I use it? And not just how do I use it, but how do I use it for my company and my use case I need? Because it's different than a CRM, right? Or it's different from a marketing automation tool. The actual applications of AI now, to be most successful, I think require a much more bespoke approach compared to like, here's the 11 ways to use it inside of an accounting business.
Yeah, I think AI is only as good as the information that feeds into it. And we've seen a lot of AI agents, and I think those are fine and helpful, but that's not really like the dream or promise of AI. And then I think on your consumption based model, who do you think is doing this well? Like HubSpot has always been my example of being really good at having low prices to get SMBs in that will grow with them. Not consumption based, but low enough. And I'm struggling to think of someone who's like cracked the code on this, but I might not be looking at the right platforms either.
I think that the ones who have done it the best that I have seen are it's actually like Google Cloud,
Great example.
the AWS credit thing. And to be fair, it's a large, those are large companies who can afford to absorb the cost, et cetera, right? But you think about the value provided through a it's sort of is usage based, right? And that you're not paying a platform fee for Google Cloud, you're paying per seat. A 5-person company can get the same suite of tools that a 3,000-person company can run off of. That's a remarkably high value proposition when you think about it, right? Like, so things like that. And then the credit based tools that exist out there, right? That have existed and have always existed last 20 years or so around the platforms that folks are building on. I think we can learn a lot from looking at those models as we move into this new era of what's worked for them. May not work carbon copy, but it'll likely work similarly. And I think that's what we're seeing now with like Agent Force on the Salesforce ecosystem as we're making a big shift towards consumption based pricing. And you still yet to see the full impacts of all of this stuff, but early signs are coming.
Yeah, I think there's something to say about the data usage. That's that any company that is doing something around the data, or selling data, or providing data, or is providing service that it consumes or is driving the cost based on data usage, I think is well positioned to adjust that. I think where I'm always skeptical is the companies that build the features that are not volume based and then they're value based. So that transition might be painful. And I think for a while, I feel like we're going to have a little bit of a combination between the subscription and consumption that is coming on top, which complicates the pricing. I agree. That's never good for pricing because that should be easy. But
Well,
definitely that's going to be probably somewhere in in a kind of transitional period.
and you think about it, it changes a lot, right?
Yeah.
ARR, recurring revenue, how do you calculate that now? And how do you compensate on that now, right? I can see a lot more shift towards the wealth management compensation model, AUM type of thing. You're building a book of business, you own that book of business, growing that book of business and scaling it together. I think it's going to be totally disruptive and you're going to have to like figure a way out of this now. I think it's going to align incentives a lot more inside of orgs, but it's going to be very disruptive where 400K OTE, SaaS sellers who were hunter killers, right? Like they go out and bring in the
The
bacon.
big whales. Yeah.
That's not the model anymore, really. Like it's more, can you build a relationship and grow it over time? Different skill sets, different pieces of tech to support that motion. The ramifications are broad.